Is it possible to really master your money and change your financial life in just 6 weeks? I think it is. If you read this book by Ramit Sethi, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It gives you a 6-week program, and I'll do my best to give you the very best summary of this right now. Before we get into the 6-week program, the most important thing I need you to remember is this: focus on the big wins. This is the fundamental principle underlying the entire book. Focus on the big wins. Right at the beginning of this book, Ramit warns against focusing on the tiny little details. He calls this minutiae. When we debate minutiae, we somehow feel satisfied. And that is why focusing on these tiny little details is the easiest way to get nothing done. People love to argue minor points because it absolves them from actually having to do anything. Do not fall into this trap. Instead, this is what you've got to do. Get started even if you have only $50 to your name. Also, don't worry about trying to become an expert. This is going to overwhelm you and lead you to do nothing at all. So don't worry about trying to get everything perfect. Instead, just get 85% of what you need to know and take things one step at a time. That's far better than doing nothing at all. So to recap, when we focus on the big wins, what this means is having a plan that allows you to do as little as possible for the most amount of gains. Do not focus on minutiae. Go ahead even if you have only $50 and don't get everything perfect. 85% is good enough. Now that you've got that in mind, here are the 6 biggest wins you can take for yourself during this 6-week program. Basically, it's one big win for each week. Week 1. The big win for this week is using your credit card smartly. Now, you may be wondering, why is this a big win? Well, using a credit card and paying it off on time every time gives you a good credit score. And when your credit score is good, lenders will be more willing to extend you a loan at a lower interest rate. I really love this example that Ramit gave here on page 17. Let's say you want to borrow 200 grand for a 30-year mortgage. Now, if you have a great credit score, your interest rate will be 4.384%, and you'll pay a total of $359,867 over the life of your mortgage. However, if you have a really bad credit score, your interest rate will be 5.973%, and you'll pay $437,427, which is a whopping 70 grand more than you'd originally have to pay. If that isn't a big win, I don't know what is. Now, which credit card should you get and how do you manage it? I love that Ramit gives you the exact card that he uses, which is a Citibank Premier Pass Elite, because he finds the best value out of these credit cards where you can rack up miles and redeem free flights. If you travel a lot, go for one of these cards. Otherwise, just go to bankrate.com and compare credit cards there to see which rewards give you the best bang for your buck. After getting your credit card, here are the 3 main things that you must do to get the most out of your card. 1, pay off your credit card on time. To make sure you don't forget, log into your credit card's website to set up an automatic payment. 2, call up the credit card company and get them to waive all your fees whenever they arise on your credit card statement. If you don't know how to do that, well, Ramit even gives you a conversation of exactly what to say to do so on page 25 here. 3, use all your rewards. There are tons of rewards that come with credit cards, like travel rewards to save on flights. I've personally used my own credit cards to save on hotel stays. You can even get warranty doubling on your purchases, car rental insurance, trip cancellation insurance, and even concierge services, which is honestly insane to think about. Did you know that you could get all these rewards? I didn't until I read Ramit's book. That's the first big win for you to take and get sorted in week 1. Now, what is the second big win that you should go after? Get your respective bank accounts in order. That's your homework for week 2. The bare minimum you have to do is to open 1 checking account and 1 savings account. A checking account is where all your money is funneled in, like when your salary comes in. After that, you use your checking account to make all your bill payments and daily expenses. A savings account, on the other hand, is what Ramit calls a goals account. This means that you should be saving up to meet your goals, and you shouldn't be withdrawing from this account to meet your daily expenses or whatever expenses you may have. That's why it's called a savings account, is to help you save. For your checking account, you can just open a no-fee one at your your local bank. However, for your savings account, you'll want to open one at a high-yield online bank. Why an online bank, you may be wondering? Well, if you've been to your local bank, what do you notice? There's, first of all, a physical location that local banks have to pay rent for. On top of that, they have loads of staff more than willing to help you out, which they also have to pay salaries for. I'm sure you've seen loads of ads marketing your local bank, which they have marketing budgets to pay for as well. Online banks, on the other hand, don't have most of these expenses. That means higher profit margins and in turn, high interest rates for their customers. Local banks might give you something like a 0.5% in interest, while online banks can give you 3% or 6 times as much. As you start saving more and more money, the difference in interest you could get could be in the thousands, and that's why this is another big win. A simple action, but with huge benefits for you. So basically, I've got a really old version of this book, but what Ramit is recommending is this. I really love that he gives you exactly which account to go for. These are the best checking accounts, which are Schwab Bank Investor Checking or ING Direct Electric Orange. As for the best savings account, you can look at ING Direct Orange Savings, Immigrant Direct, or HSBC Direct. As of 2024, when I'm recording this video, ING Direct has been converted to Capital One 360, and I think the rest are still as they are. Once you've done setting up all your accounts, you've got to fund them. To keep things simple, leave just 1.5 months of living expenses in your local bank checking account, because remember, that's where your expenses come out of. After that, move everything else into your savings account for all your future savings goals, even if it's only $20. Remember what we discussed at the beginning of this video? Don't worry if you only have like $200 or $20. That's still a great starting point for saving up in your savings account. Our next big win, number 3 for week 3, is investing your money. What are the accounts that you should open when it comes to investing your money? I'm glad you asked. 1, a 401k. 2, a Roth IRA. 3, a regular non-retirement investment account. The bare minimum you should aim for is these 2, and we're going to talk about that right now. A 401k is a retirement account that many companies offer to their employees. It's a retirement account because you leave all your money in there until the retirement age and you get huge tax benefits. What are these tax benefits? Well, the money going into your 401k isn't taxed yet, and it's only taxed when you withdraw it after you've retired. This gives it loads of time for compounding growth. We take a look at this chart in the book. It shows what your 401k will look like before tax. This is after tax over $1 million, and this is what a non-retirement regular investment account will look like if you invest the exact same amount. It's a no-brainer really. Having a 401k is such a big win. What other benefits are there if you open a 401k? Well, the next benefit is huge as well, and that's employer matching, which is basically free money for you. For example, if your company offers a 1-to-1 match up to 5% of your salary, if you make 100 grand a year and you yourself invest 5 grand, your company will give you a free 5 grand, making your investment a total of 10 grand a year. Remember this chart that I showed you? This is without employer matching. With employer matching, this 1.4 million here, that becomes 2.7 million. That's the power of your 401k. The third benefit here is that you don't actually even have to do anything. The money is sent directly over to your 401k, bypassing you completely. And that's another benefit because it's cut out of your paycheck automatically. You don't see it at all, and that's great for most of us because unfortunately, we all spend more money than what we should. And that sums up the 401k. The next account we're going to talk about is the Roth IRA, and that's another retirement account that you should open after opening your 401k. Unlike a 401k though, there's no employer matching for your Roth IRA, and it's built using your own money. But while a 401k only lets you choose from certain select funds, a Roth IRA lets you invest in anything you want, like different index funds and even individual stocks. And another benefit of the Roth IRA is that it uses after-tax dollars, unlike your 401k. So when you withdraw your money during your retirement, you don't pay any tax on it. Check out this table here. This is the amount you can withdraw out of your Roth IRA after 30 years. And this is the amount you can withdraw out of your regular non-retirement investment account, which you have to use after-tax dollars to invest in, and you get taxed again when you withdraw, like capital gains tax. To start start your Roth IRA, you need to open an investment brokerage account, and Ramit recommends opening one with a discount brokerage because these discount brokerages charge much smaller fees. These are his recommendations right here. You can pause the video anytime to check them out. Now, only after you've taken advantage of employer matching in your 401k, maxed out your Roth IRA, and then gone back and maxed out your 401k beyond employer matching, that's when you should open up a regular non-retirement investment account. Moving on to our next big win for week number 4, that is what Ramit calls a conscious spending plan. Before you click off this video, this isn't about creating a budget. It's not about tracking every single dollar, so I hope you stay for it. The conscious spending plan has nothing to do with budgeting and tracking. Instead, it has everything to do with choosing the things that you love enough to spend extravagantly on and then cutting costs mercilessly on the things that you don't love. Here's exactly how it works. There are 4 major buckets where all your money goes. They are fixed costs, investments, savings, and guilt-free spending money. Fixed costs are the amount that you have to pay each month. The general rule of thumb is having these costs amounting to about 50 to 60% of your take-home pay. And this is a somewhat exhaustive list of fixed expenses that you might have to pay for. These include your rent or mortgage, utility bills, phone bills, medical bills, car payments, public transportation costs, loan repayments, like perhaps your student loans, your grocery bills, clothing expenses, and internet bills. Again, bear in mind that these are the bare minimum expenses. It's like if you don't have these, you'll die. These do not include like discretionary expenses like dining out or watching movies with your friends. After you're done filling everything here, add another 15% for expenditures you haven't counted yet, like car repair or dry cleaning or emergency medical care or donations. This gives you a little bit of a buffer for unexpected expenses that might pop up. All of this gives you your fixed cost number. So now, subtract it from your take-home pay. Then you know how much you have left to spend on your investments, savings, and guilt-free spending. The next bucket of money contains your investments, and this includes the amount that you send to your retirement accounts, so your 401k and Roth IRA. Ramit recommends investing about 10% of your take-home pay for the long term. The third bucket of money is for various savings goals. Short-term savings goals include Christmas gifts and vacations. Mid-term savings goals include perhaps an upcoming wedding, and long-term savings are things like making a down payment on your future house. Calculating all of these different expenses can be really quite overwhelming, so a good rule of thumb is to save about 5 to 10% of your take-home pay for the various savings goals. And after putting aside all your money in these 3 different buckets, the last bucket is the most fun, and that's for guilt-free spending money. You can use it to buy anything you want, but hopefully it's not more than about 20 to 35%. Once you've got all your general figures, there are 3 main ways that you can optimize your conscious spending plan. The first way is dialing back on big expenses that have a significant impact on your spending plan. What are some of these huge expenses? Let's say you find out that you've been spending $800 a month eating out. Is there any way that you can slowly cut this down? Maybe this month go out one less time that you would have gone out, saving yourself maybe $50 to $100. The second thing to keep in mind is to start reducing your expenses slowly but surely and sustainably. It wouldn't be sustainable to go from $800 a month to $200 a month within 1 month. Perhaps you could take your time, go from $800 a month to $700 a month and down to $200 a month 6 months later. The third thing that I thought was most helpful is using the envelope system. The most extreme way of doing this is having all your money in cold hard cash and then putting them in actual envelopes. Each envelope represents a certain category like rent or mortgage, groceries, eating out, and so on. Once you spend the money in that envelope for that month, that's it. You're done. You can't spend anymore. But the way I do this is using a free Excel spreadsheet. So I've got here all my different categories of expenses that I typically spend every month. I allocate every envelope a certain amount at the beginning of the month, and every few days I will try to remember to jot down the major expenses under each category. It takes me a few minutes at most. And then I deduct whatever I've spent in that category from that specific envelope. I like to buy books because it makes me feel like I've done something good from just the mere action of buying the book that used to go into hundreds of dollars every month in the past. But now my envelope allows me only $100 in books for the month. That's usually about 5 to 6 books for me. And once I've spent everything for the month, like what I have here, I can't buy anything else no matter what new titles come out or how juicy the titles are. I just have to wait for the next month. One more thing, I'm a freaking nerd, so I literally track every single dollar down to a $2 pack of notepads that I bought to stick on my notebook to make this video more interesting. I also track my multiple credit cards, bank transfers, and any cash that I use. But you don't have to be so extreme if it makes you stressed out. It can be very overwhelming. So to keep things simple for starters, try to put everything maybe on one credit card first. That'll give you a transaction history that's easy to look at, and then spend 30 minutes each Sunday morning or whatever works for you, just writing out your transactions for the week and deducting from each envelope. Just remember to start small and take things easy at the beginning. To make things a little bit easier for you, here's the next big win for week number 5, and that's automating your money. The end goal here is to have all your money automated and routed to the right account based on your conscious spending plan in the previous big win. To get set up, you'll need to create a complete list of all your accounts. Ramit also recommends having your logins and passwords in the list too, and this is a table that he recommends you compile your list of accounts in. So here are all your various accounts, like your checking account, savings account. Remember what we talked about back in big win number 2? You've also got your credit cards from big win number 1, and of course your retirement accounts from big win number 3. Now the next step is to link all your accounts, and here's how to do that. First, talk to your HR rep and set up a direct deposit of your salary into your checking account. Also, you need to connect your paycheck to your 401k so that you'll never see the money and you won't be tempted to spend it. The rest of your paycheck after the deduction will be sent to your checking account like we talked about. Next, connect your checking account to your savings account as well as your Roth IRA. If you're way ahead of your peers, you should also connect it to your non-retirement investment account if you have one. Now connect your credit card to as many of your bills as possible, like your cable bill. The bills that can be paid using your credit card should be linked to your checking account. Your credit card bill every month should also be debited from your checking account. And here's what this whole process looks like in this terribly drawn flowchart right here. Your paycheck that comes in should be partially funding your 401k first, then the rest goes to your checking account. Your money should automatically flow out to your savings and investments accounts before you spend it all, and the rest goes into your fixed costs. And of course, we finally get some guilt-free spending money that also goes onto your credit card. Now that you know what this general flow is like, you now actually have to take the time to go into your accounts using each individual account's website and set up all these automatic transfers and payments. Here are a few extra things to take note of. You may want to synchronize all your bills, and you can do this by calling each company up and simply asking them to switch your billing dates. If you're paid on the first of the month, you can switch all your bills to arrive on or after that time as well. Take note here that even if you get paid on the first of each month, your paycheck may not show up in your account until the second of each month, so you will need to account for that. Next, set up your automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account on the 5th of every month. Because if for some reason your paycheck doesn't show up on the 1st, you have a few days to correct things or cancel the automatic transfer. Same thing with your investment account and the Roth IRA, set it up on the 5th. Any bills or loans as well as your entire credit card, these you should set them up for auto payment on the 7th. That's because if your credit card bill arrives on the 1st of each month, like what we talked about, and they usually give you about 3 weeks to pay it off, at least mine gives me 3 weeks, well, paying them off on the 7th means that you never ever incur late fees. And that's all the automation that you have to do. I'm pretty sure you'd like to spend the guilt-free spending money yourself and not automate it away. I know I sure would like to buy more books with that money, but please remember to set mid-month or even weekly calendar reminders to inform you if you're spending too much or you need to dial back on your spending. Now, the last big win for the final week number 6 is a big one. And that's investing your money, but don't worry, there's a very simple way of doing this. But first, let me give you all the key takeaways from the investing part of the book so you at least have some understanding of the basics of investing. If you've never invested before, there are 4 principles you should always do. First, make sure to get your asset allocation right. What is asset allocation? Well, that's the way you organize the investments in your portfolio between stocks and bonds. Stocks as an entire category provide excellent returns. On average, the stock market returns about 8% per year. You can earn significantly more if you pick a winning stock, or even lose all your money if you pick a losing stock. Basically, high risk, high reward. Bonds, on the other hand, are IOUs from either companies or the government. These are generally much more stable. They act to decrease risk in your portfolio. They rise when stocks fall, and this reduces the volatility in your portfolio. But of course, the returns won't be as high as stocks, naturally. How you should organize your portfolio between stocks and bonds depends on your age. If you're currently in your 20s, you want to be super aggressive and you have loads of time to wait out potential downturns, you can potentially invest in 100% stocks, no bonds. Or you could be a little more conservative, investing in just 20% bonds and 80% stocks. However, as you get older, you should start getting more conservative, slowly paring down the percentage of stocks in your portfolio. If you're 40, you could have anywhere between 20 to even 40% bonds. And when you're 60, you should have 60% bonds and 40% stocks instead. I'm just giving you these figures based on the 100 minus age rule. So basically, as a rule of thumb, by taking the number 100 and subtracting your age from it, you determine how much of your portfolio should be held in stocks and the rest should be held in a less risky asset class. Now, the second principle to follow is to be diversified. Basically, there are many types of stocks, and we need to own a little of all of them. The same goes for bonds. This is a table in the book showing you the different types of stocks there are. So we have large cap stocks, mid cap, small cap, international, growth, and value. As for bonds, we have government bonds, corporate bonds, short-term, long-term, municipal, and principal protected bonds. The reason you need to invest in all of these different subcategories is that you can't predict which will perform and not perform in any given year. Small cap may do great next year, but do terribly the year after, and for the next 10 years after that, while large cap stocks could have the exact opposite growth rate. Both you and I can't predict any of that. So if you own all of these, you're effectively insured against any one area dragging you down. Now, the third investing principle is to keep your costs low. Do not opt for expensive funds like mutual funds, which are just baskets filled with different types of investments, usually stocks. These funds have portfolio managers who actively manage the funds. And what do these managers need? A yearly salary. How do they get that? By charging you expensive fees that eat out of your profits, basically. Instead of mutual funds, the much cheaper option are index funds instead. These funds use computers to buy stocks and match the market, such as the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. If a stock represents 2% of the S&P, the computer will just buy 2% of that stock to put into the index fund. No human managers means no expensive fees. Here's a table from the book showing you the difference in annual fees that you'll be paying if first you buy an index fund and second, if you buy a mutual fund. But this book isn't telling you to invest in index funds. Did you know that to have a well-rounded, balanced portfolio of index funds, you need to follow this model of asset allocation here, own 3 to 7 different index funds, and you gotta do your own research to pick and choose the different funds that suit your asset allocation. Yeah, it's kind of tedious, but if that's your thing, just pause the video here to read all the pages that I put on the screen here. Oh, and you have to rebalance your portfolio every 12 to 18 months by buying and selling your entire portfolio of funds. But if that's not your thing, well, you're in luck because Ramit recommends the simplest possible fund instead, which are life cycle funds, not index funds. These life cycle funds are super simple funds, even simpler than index funds because they automatically diversify your stocks and bonds for you based on your age. Why? Because these life cycle funds own many funds, which all own stocks and bonds. So they can pick a blend of investments for you based on this asset allocation we discussed a few minutes before. All you have to do is deposit your money in, and you don't have to do anything else. This is like the perfect big win if you want maximum results through minimum effort. On the other hand, index funds do not own stocks and bonds at the same time, and you have to do the rebalancing by yourself, remember, every 12 to 18 months. Of course, Ramit gives us 2 very popular life cycle funds that you can do further research on and invest in if you're interested in this concept. These are Vanguard's Target Retirement 2050 or T. Rowe Retirement 2045. These dates here, so that's 2050 and 2045, is basically the target date of your retirement. So this is what you should invest in now if you're currently in your 40s. If you're younger, you should be buying some other fund from either Vanguard or T. Rowe. You can find everything on the official websites, like all these different funds from Vanguard, which give you not just the fund name, but also the birth year for your info. And Vanguard doesn't call it life cycle funds, but target retirement funds instead, so just keep that in mind. That's roughly how it works, and this is what your asset allocation will be like at different ages. And the 4th investing principle is to automate your investment contributions, which frees you from having to pay attention to day-to-day changes in the market. In other words, dollar cost averaging. This is just a fancy phrase that refers to investing regular amounts over time, so like investing every month like we discuss in the conscious spending plan. Basically, what you have now is a living, breathing system that automatically tucks away some of your monthly salary into a life cycle fund, which automatically invests and rebalances your portfolio for you. Bam! Maximum result for minimum effort. And just as a quick refresher, here's a quick summary of my summary of I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Week 1. Optimize your credit cards by researching what's best for you, then setting up an automatic payment, getting all your fees waived, and using your rewards if you want to. Week 2, set up one no-fee checking account at your local bank, and also set up one savings account in a high-yield online bank. Week 3, invest your money by opening up at least a 401k and your Roth IRA. If you have excess money, you can also think about opening a regular non-retirement investment account. Week 4, set up the 4 buckets of your conscious spending plan. So that's fixed costs, investments, savings, and guilt-free spending money. Optimize them slowly but surely in a sustainable manner, and a great way of doing so is using the envelope system. Week 5, automate your money by linking all your accounts together using this terribly drawn flowchart and setting up automatic payments for each of these links. And week number 6, invest your money on a regular basis in life cycle funds that are offered by companies such as Vanguard. If you're looking to master your money and your financial life more, I'm planning to read more personal finance books and collate them into one video that I'll put up on the screen here when it's ready. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.